Greetings and welcome, students, parents, family members, trusted adults, and anyone who might have accidentally stumbled upon this video to the 2025-2026 school year here at Ladera Vista Junior High School of the Arts. I am your teacher, narrator, and content creator, Mr. Morita. I'll be walking you through all of the policies, procedures, rules, consequences, all that stuff that students will want to have memorized or refer to at least throughout the year to find success in my math class. So regardless of if you are in Math 7 or Math 8, the general, everything is kind of universal across the board. Feel free to, at any time, jump to any particular part in the syllabus here in this video in the description below by clicking on the timestamps. It'll be a long one, but it will be thorough and very informative. Let's start with the first piece of information that you want to know is my class website. In fact, the greatest math website ever created by a human being that is ever taught in this classroom. That's right. If you go to your favorite web browser, usually Google or Safari if you're on your student iPad, and Google Morita, that is my name and the subject I teach math, you will find the #1 search result on the entire internet. That's in the known human universe. That's my website. And if you're staring at this beautiful face here, you have found the right place. So here is my website. Make sure you click in the, on the correct class in the top right-hand corner. So if you're Math 7, you'll come here. The slides for the syllabus that I am going over today, you can always find here throughout the school year. Open up to find the PDF version of them. The resource page over here to the left will be here all year as well. If I could zoom in on it, there you go. You'll see here the video link for this course syllabus as well as all of the resources that I distribute in class as far as digital copies of our lesson notes, practice solutions. The dates that we covered each lesson will be included and added to this page as the year goes on. You can also find a quick link to this video here where it says here I've not yet added the hyperlink because in a weird metaphysical way I have not created the video yet. I'm doing it right now. Oh, minds have been blown all over the place. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the current calendar. So I'm recording this during week 3, the week of August 25th. And if you click here where it says click here, you can find my weekly agenda. We already did a short tour of my website, so students should be able to help you navigate through it, parents, family members, if you need it. All right, back to the show. Let's move on to Google Classroom. This year, students did not need to actually add or join my Google Classroom. They did it at the district level, which was very convenient. I use Google Classroom, probably different than many other teachers. A lot of teachers use Google Classroom to collect work, grade it, and return it. I only use it to collect it. The work that is graded in my class is typically digital, the lesson quizzes and lesson videos if we have them, and tests. All that stuff is done digitally. I only use Google Classroom to collect student work. So pictures of lesson notes or lesson practice assignments can be submitted to Google Classroom. But again, they do not count towards a student's overall grade. Speaking of lesson notes, students should be writing those down in their math notebooks. We talked about math notebooks in class this week, and then lesson practice as well. Lesson practice, even though, again, it is not graded, it is mandatory. It is mandatory to help students practice the skills that are being taught in each lesson, and it is also required for students to be able to retake their lesson quizzes. So that's right, parents and family members, students are allowed to retake their lesson quizzes as many times as they want, as long as they've submitted their completed lesson practice. So if they get a low score on a lesson quiz, like a 50% or lower, oh, heaven forbid, they would be able to retake the quiz, get that extra practice, and improve their grade in PowerSchool. So that's why the lesson practice has immense value, despite not being graded towards their overall grade in my class. So one huge reminder that students forget every year: you should never submit an assignment to my Google Classroom without a picture of work attached. So again, either your lesson notes or your lesson practice should be submitted at all times. I will always leave feedback in Google Classroom. If you get an assignment pushed back to you and you don't get credit for it, please read my comments so that you know how to fix it and resubmit it correctly. Moving on, let's talk about Clever. Students should be familiar with Clever. Clever is the one-stop login app. The main things we use Clever for in my class are Holt McDougall Online. That's our online textbook for the time being. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then iReady, which we completed last week. We don't really use Clever for anything else in my class. Everything else could be usually found in a separate website, which they'll access in their web browser of choice. Moving on, Holt McDougall, I kind of mentioned it. This is our current textbook. Our main functions are lesson quizzes. Students can also download the PDF versions of the student edition under the student edition and resources icon. They can also download the glossary. So if they have not done so already, because we had some issues with Notability this week, if by the time you are viewing this video and going over the syllabus, you have not done so yet, students can download Module 1 of the textbook and the glossary to Notability. They'll use the same glossary all year long for every unit test to find definitions for the key vocabulary words. Now, our current textbook this year, parents and family members and students, we will be piloting, I believe, 2 new publishers this year to figure out if we're going to adopt a new textbook, which we will be moving away from Holt McDougall after this year. So that means sometime during the first quarter before winter break, we should be transitioning to our first pilot textbook. So that will just mostly change where we find our lesson quizzes. I'll figure all that stuff out at a couple of meetings I'll be attending shortly. But most of the material I will probably continue to provide via my lesson notes that I've created. Okay, so that's really the only thing that will change over the course of the year, our textbook. And then after winter break, we are likely to be switching to our second pilot. Speaking of Notability, hopefully it seems Notability has been figured out. Your icon might look different, but it works about the same. This is a PDF reader for those of you who don't know. Students can access the digital textbook without Wi-Fi. They can write on the pages kind of like this and do math, in Notability. But I do always require students to show their work in their math notebook, and we'll touch on that in a few slides. So there are a couple of very, very old video tutorials on my class website on that resource page on how to download and upload files from Notability. They are old, they're a bit old, but they still work because the procedures are still the same. Next up, math notebooks. So I did allude to this a little bit, and we talked about this with students in class, but my personal teaching philosophy, there is no replacement for pencil and handwritten math work. So I do ask that students have a spiral-bound notebook. Ideally, you have one devoted entirely to math, but of course, if you have one notebook for the whole year and you have to share it amongst other subjects, that's perfectly fine. A 5-subject, a 5-star brand, I'm not even sponsored by 5-star, but I should be, but a 5-subject should be more than enough paper if you're using your notebook only for math. If you're splitting it between 2 subjects, you might be able to last the whole year, but if you are splitting it amongst 3 or more subjects, you will likely need a second notebook before the year is over. A 3-star subject notebook might get you through the entire year if it's entirely math and you use your pages wisely. But again, all of this is up to the student, how they use their pages and how neatly and efficiently their notebook pages are being done. So again, math notebooks are a very, very good idea, especially for 7th graders. Now, 7th graders, when you go into 8th grade math next year, the math that I teach you this year will be very, very relevant. It'll be used again some of the same lessons we cover in 7th grade math will be reused in Math 8. Those of you who are here listening for Math 8 purposes, hopefully you have your math notebook from my class or your teacher's class from last year, because it will come in handy. Now, finally, on the math notebook, the first quarter, if you're listening to this in the first quarter is the only quarter I will accept donations. So families can go out and maybe if you're at the store this weekend or doing your back to school shopping a little late, you pick up an extra notebook, you donate it to Mr. Morita. I hold on to them, and I like to provide a nice, sturdy notebook for students whose families may not be able to afford the good stuff, by which I mean 5-star. Some of the cheaper name brand or generic brands tend to fall apart over the course of a few weeks or months. So again, the 5-star brands tend to stand the test of time in that regard. So I will collect donations. You will get extra credit for the first quarter only. You can donate them all throughout the year, and I will take them, but you only get extra credit for them for the first quarter. All right, let's have a look at some examples of some good student math notebooks in the past. You'll see some good examples of lesson notes. This student kind of mimics the vibrant color pattern of my notes that I provide in class with examples and all work shown. Here's some examples of some practice pages that are done. Notice work is shown, number lines are shown when necessary, and always the essential question, which is typically a written response included. So this is how you would get credit for finishing your lesson practice in order to unlock those retakes on your lesson quizzes. So keep that in mind. Look at some example, refer to these examples in the future if you ever get feedback on something you did wrong or something incomplete on your lesson practice. All right, moving on to the good stuff. Here we have our grading rubric. In my class, we have weighted grades. So 30% of the student's overall grade falls under the assignments category. These are assignments that are done and you earn completion credit, so they're based on completion. These are things like the math simile that were due this week, any of the iReady diagnostics, any miscellaneous worksheets that might come up over the course of the year, and then extra credit for the unit tests. These are all things that if the student does them, they get full credit. These are assignments. They are 30% of their student's overall grade. And the only due date for any of this stuff is, again, the end of the quarter, when I can no longer update grades in PowerSchool. The other part of students' grades is assessments. So 70% for assessments and projects if applicable. Sometimes we have time for projects. Most of the time, in order to fit in all of the modules in the textbook, we forego projects, but sometimes we have time. But your lesson quizzes are going to be the number one thing that are graded in PowerSchool under this category, the unit tests as well. So these are all graded on accuracy. For example, if a student gets a 75% on their lesson quiz, that is the score you will see reflected in PowerSchool. Same for the unit tests and any projects. Again, lesson quizzes will be given through the online textbook, whichever online textbook we're at, and then unit tests will likely be given through GoFormative. I am tinkering with the idea of utilizing Illuminate this year. I've heard good things about it, so I might try that out this year and change things up a little bit. So here I made this handy-dandy visual chart to kind of visually represent what a student's first quarter grades will look like. So again, under this category, in this section, about 30% of the student's overall grade are these assignments. Now the breakdown for the lesson quizzes is the purpose for this chart. It is rather unique. So what this means, if you're looking at the table, 70% in their assessments section, okay? You'll have one unit test at the end of the quarter, sometime in October, and then we will cover 3 modules of material. Every lesson quiz is worth 1 part of a unit test. So if you look at Module 1, which we're starting this week, there are 4 lesson quizzes, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. That means each of those lesson quizzes is worth 25% of 1 unit test. And that means combined, these will all add up to 1 unit test, or 100 percentage points in PowerSchool. So by the end of the first quarter, you will have technically 4 test scores worth of points in PowerSchool. Now, this system helps because, say, a student, not a very good test taker, they get a score of like, say, 30% on their unit test. There's not really much, there's a little bit of extra credit they can use to earn back this, but this score is basically what's going to stay. And that means in order for a student's grade to not completely tank at the end of the quarter, this is where you can bolster your overall grade. So you can do your lesson quiz retakes, earn higher scores on them, so that by the end of the quarter, maybe you have 90% for Module 1, 100% for Module 2, and maybe 88% for your Module 3 lesson quizzes. Those higher quote-unquote test scores will help shield you from the damage of a 30% unit test score. So again, the lesson quizzes do matter. Your lesson practice assignments do matter, so do them, and make sure you are working on those lesson quizzes when you need them. So that is it for our academic grades. Let's talk shortly about citizenship grades. So here in junior high school, in addition to academic grades, we have citizenship grades. So citizenship grades basically reflect how well a student is behaving in class. We'll talk about my class rules in a second, but at any given time in my classroom, students are accountable for all school-wide rules. Even if it's not on my personal set of class rules, which we have gone over in class, they are still held accountable. So these are the things like dress code, weapons, knives, that kind of stuff, bullying, all those things that, again, may not be on my specific set of class rules, but they are in the student handbook. They are on the Spartan Expectations Matrix, so they are still accountable. Okay. Other reasons students can lose their citizenship points. So I jumped ahead of myself. Every day, students come to class with 10 citizenship points. They can only lose them by finding themselves in violation of any of these policies here. So the first one, tardiness. It is of utter importance that students get to class on time. When you walk in late or not at all, it's very disruptive. You can disrupt the lesson or anything I'm going over in class, important information, and you might miss out on important information. So any tardies will result in an automatic loss of half of your citizenship points for the day. And then excused tardies will not. So if students have one of those counselor passes or purple classroom passes, the tardy will not apply. The school policy is that 3 or more tardies will result in an automatic N. So I will remind students after the second tardy, hey student, your next tardy will be an N, so get to class on time. So it is up to the student to make sure they are through the threshold of my classroom before the end of the second bell that begins the period. So tardies. Next, tech violations. These are things that are like no iPad. Yeah, student forgets their iPad at home. If their iPad is completely dead, or if their student needs to borrow a charger block because they forgot to charge their iPad. Number one, students should just remember to charge their iPad every night, without exception. Get into that habit. Number two, remember to bring your iPad. The majority of the work that's done in my class needs the iPad to be done. So if you don't have your iPad, it's not working for a class period, you miss out on a lot of work and you will fall behind. So number one, if it happens once, no big deal. Make sure it doesn't happen again. If it happens on a regular basis, then you will fall further and further behind. So technology violations are, generally speaking, for the most part, a loss of all of your citizenship points for that day. That is how big of a deal it is for me in my classroom. So that is why you lose all of your points. And that also includes any cell phones that are not put away correctly. As per our district policy, student phones must be off and in their backpacks for the duration of the day. So they shouldn't even be in pockets. in pant pockets, back pockets, front pockets, doesn't matter. They should be put away in their backpacks for the duration of the day. No AirPods, no Bluetooth headphones at all, without exception. So, at times, students will need headphones. They can bring their own as long as they have a cord, or I have my own set of headphones in the class. Dead iPads will result in half the points lost to a certain extent. If students are regularly bringing in their iPad, and that means like 3 or 4, maybe 5 times a week, and it's dead or dying, then I will typically start taking away all points. So if it becomes a bad habit, then the consequences increase. So that's kind of the outside of classroom general rules. Let's talk about my class rules. Now, my class rules, the consequences kind of work on a 3-strike system. So out of 10 points, the first violation of the class period will result in a loss of 3 points. So students have 7 points remaining. The second violation, you'll lose 4 of those points, therefore leaving 3 points remaining for the rest of the period. And then a third violation, which is a lot in a short class period, which is under an hour every day. 3 violations of class rules is excessive. You will lose your remaining points. And again, students should be well aware of my class rules at the time. These are just 4 of the 5 rules that are posted. There are a few extra that aren't even posted, but students should be aware of. So make sure you review these if you have any questions or issues with them. Whew, that was a lot about grading. Let's look next at our work cycle. So at any given day, week, we'll cover 2 to 3 lessons per week, and that's because of our work cycle. So our module lesson will start the lesson cycle on day 1. It's basically every lesson is broken into a 2-day cycle, where on day 1 we will have lecture, live lecture of the lesson notes. Students will copy down the lesson notes. We will go over examples. They will be guided by me. I will model the work. Students will have opportunity to work on the examples independently and then get feedback from me if they're to correct any mistakes they're making. Okay, on certain occasions when I am absent on a lecture day, I will go back and use my lesson videos, so students will get some training in that. But for day 1, we'll finish the lesson. Students can work on their homework. The lessons are designed to not take the entire class period, so students should, on a regular basis, have time to at least start their lesson practice. Ideally, students can have their lesson practice assignments done before they leave class, or most of it done. As long as students are on task and using their class time wisely, this is a possibility. I also give students the freedom, if we have that time at the end of the class, to choose wisely what they work on. Say they have an assignment due in their next class period, they can absolutely work on that. I will not stop them. They don't just have to work on math, but if they have nothing else to do, they should prioritize math while it's fresh in their mind so they can do their practice and start their practice and ask questions of me before they leave class if they need them. Okay, so again, I do teach using a modern classroom's project structure, but I am no longer allowed to. So I'm no longer allowed to deliver my math lectures via lesson videos, except on days when I'm absent and we do need to cover the lectures. So if you visit my YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can actually, this is kind of a outdated statement. My lesson videos do still exist on my YouTube channel, so you can go back and find them. I just have not been updating them since I was told not to use them. So in summary, day 1, we have a live lecture, and then students can complete their practice individually. If you're doing it in class, by all means, you may work together at a reasonable decibel level. So day 2, the sun sets and rises, and we are back in class. The first thing we will do on day 2 of the lesson cycle is go over the lesson practice solutions. I will have lesson practice solutions on the screen. Students should know to get out their math notebook, start looking over the practice, checking their answers, and I will answer any questions that students could not figure out on their own prior to taking their lesson quiz. And basically the rest of the period can be devoted to completing their lesson quiz and independent work time. So typically these days fall on Wednesdays and Fridays. So most often, most regularly, we have at least 2 days where students have class time to work on catching up on things. So due to absence, or things are just missing, or they're behind, take advantage of those class periods on Wednesdays and Fridays when you have a lot of free time. That independent work time can become invaluable to you to get caught up. Okay, and then once again, lesson quizzes can be retaken as many times as a student wants, as long as their practice is done. Now, in your math, in the online textbook in Hope McDougall Online, for the time being, you can find all of the lesson quizzes under the My Assignments tab. And then you can find all, once they're completed, you can find the results and scores under the My Progress Report bar. We did a short tour of the online textbook, but again, I'm putting it here in the syllabus so students can remember that, where to find all that stuff. So in summation, day 2 of our work cycle, we will go over the solutions and answers and answer questions from the practice, and then students will complete their lesson quiz in whatever online textbook we are working out of at the time. And you can access that via Clever. So makeup work and retakes. First of all, my late work policy. I do not have one. Students are not penalized for turning in work late. The only due date I have for students is the end of the quarter that the assignment was given. So for example, quarter 1 ends on October 10th. That is the last day students can make up any late or missing assignments, or that includes retaking any lesson quizzes. So that's going to be the same throughout the whole school year. That's not going to change. Okay. And again, it's here several times, and that's why that's how you know it's important. Lesson practice. Make sure all work is shown, handwritten in pencil in your math notebook, in order to get credit if you want to retake those lesson quizzes. And then I will usually come around and stamp during an in-class practice check. It's a beautiful stamp, the most beautiful stamp you've ever seen. So look for it in your students' math notebooks. And then again, I always take the highest score on a lesson quiz. There's absolutely no risk in retaking them. So if your student retakes it, gets a 50%, for some reason gets a 25% on the second attempt, I will always keep the higher score. So students only need to email me or tell me their scores in class when they get an improved score. And then I can update it in PowerSchool, and everyone's happy because grades go up. And yeah, so if you're not in class, make sure to email me your scores. Just shoot me an email with your name, your class period, the lesson number, and the score itself so that it can be updated in PowerSchool. Whoo, we did it. Here is my contact information, as you just saw in bright, bold, kind of bold lettering. Kyle _ there's an underscore there. Morita at myfsd.org. This is the best way to reach me. I will check my email throughout the day while I'm on campus. I do actually check it a couple of times after hours at home and on the weekends, so I'm pretty good about responding to any messages that are sent to me even after hours or during the school day. The turnaround is at most typically 24 hours, usually before then. Or if you like to contact me by phone, you can call the Ladera Vista front office and they will direct you in my general direction. Whew, well, that was a lot of information, a lot of useful information hopefully you found. Feel free to reference this lesson video, this syllabus video, sorry, I forgot what I was recording for a minute. Anytime throughout the year, it will be posted all year long. Any minor changes that I might make to the syllabus over the course of the year, I will probably just post on Google Classroom or send out notification to students. I probably won't go back and edit it here. So just look for those updates and amendments to this year's class syllabus. I am thoroughly looking forward to this school year, the 2025-2026 school year. That is going to be it for me, Mr. Morita, signing off from the internet, wherever you are. I hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying healthy. Hope you're enjoying the laser show. And have a great rest of your day, wherever you are. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.